Good afternoon. This is Lori Chavez, Assistant Principal at San Benito High School. Today we have Dr. Sean Tenenbaum and Principal Adrian Ramirez here to answer some questions that our community is probably waiting for. So thank you, both of you, for being here this afternoon. We are social distancing, so thank you for sitting in the spots that you are. You are okay to take off your mask to answer some of these questions.
Thank you, Lori. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Lori.
Principal Ramirez, we're going to go ahead and start with you. Can you please describe the process you have taken thus far in developing the reopening plans for San Benito High School?
Yes, so as we ended the spring semester, this last spring semester, we pushed out several different forms of surveying and opportunities for feedback from parents, students, and our faculty. And so from that feedback, then we started in a process of starting to come up with some potential concepts, knowing that we would have to be planning for the fall of 2020 with having in mind that we'd have to be ready for three different scenarios. Number one, in the most restrictive format, which would be full distance learning, a lesser restrictive format that would allow us to do what we're calling a hybrid, which would be a part-time on campus, part-time distance learning, or in the least restrictive, which would be the opportunity if we had that to come in full time. So from there, we've begun a process where we've been holding focus groups utilizing Zoom with teachers, counselors, our certificated staff members. We've also been holding some focus groups with a core group of students, a group of about 25 students. And then we also just started the same format with our classified staff members. So we'll continue that process throughout the summer, as we know that between now and the start of school, we've got a lot of details to continue to plan.
So you mentioned talking about these, or working with these focus groups. We understand that San Benito High School is in the process of developing 3 instructional models for the fall of 2020. Can you describe the basic format for each of these instructional models?
Yes, so we took a look at several different formats. We took a look at the most basic, which was us having students take and teachers teach 6 classes simultaneously. We took a look at models that had students taking 3 classes simultaneously, and we actually landed on starting to work on a model that has students taking 2 classes simultaneously. And so we'll be providing further information on the specifics of what that looks like, and we'll be updating all of our stakeholders on what that is. But the reason, the path and how we landed on 2 is taking into consideration all of the guidelines coming from public health, California Department of Public Health, along with all the information and the collaboration between all the superintendents in the county of San Benito, along with all of the guidance that we're receiving from the California Department of Education. And so what you'll be seeing is more and more detail on a planning of 3 different phases that I previously described that all revolve around students taking 2 courses at a time.
So with 2 courses at a time and students being on campus, Dr. Tenenbaum, can you tell me what type of safety protocols might be in place when students and staff return in August?
Thank you, Lori. I think one of the most important things to share is where are we receiving our guidance from in terms of safety. And right now we're receiving guidance from our local public health department, and they are receiving guidance from the state public health department. We're also looking at guidelines from the California Department of Education, as well as other agencies that may be providing input. And I think the biggest question that our community may have, and our school community in general, are what type of safety protocols will be in place. The first and foremost will be face coverings. We have a local requirement that follows the state requirement in terms of face coverings, and we'll be implementing that on campus for both staff and students. And then we take a look at both active and passive screening. Active screening is a no-touch thermometer taking the temperature of a student or a staff member. And then passive screening will be done at home by parents answering questions regarding COVID-19 and symptoms. But we also have social distancing. And that is one of the greatest challenges for all school districts throughout the United States, is to really look at maintaining a 6-foot distance between students within a classroom and ensuring a safe environment for both not only the the students in the class, but also the educator. These guidelines have constantly shifted. I think it's one thing, Lori, that we want to make sure that we share with our community is we're receiving new guidance constantly, and we're going to continue to adapt. We're going to be fluid. But as Mr. Ramirez and Adrian described regarding our instructional formats, we started with safety first, and then we moved into the classroom, and now outside of the classroom, we're moving back out to safety to ensure that we have a safe working environment for all students and staff.
Wonderful, and we look forward to having our students back here on campus.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, Mr. Ramirez, will students have access to technology for the 2021 school year?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started with being able to just having the opportunity for students to check out a Chromebook, to be able to have a one-to-one access to Chromebooks. So we started that in our current summer school program, and that'll continue on through the regular year. So for the fall, starting in the fall of 2020, any student who does need a Chromebook will have an opportunity to check one out just like they would a textbook. And so not only does that provide students with access to a computer, but what it also does is it follows the guidelines that we have in terms of not having shared, a shared computer amongst multiple students. So it also helps us in that way. And so the other thing is it's one thing to have a laptop, but it's another thing to have internet access. And so our technology department is also working on, has also secured hotspots that have been issued out during summer school. Already during summer school, we're working on that, and we'll be working on being able to secure enough hotspots to be able to provide our students who need access.
Great, thank you, Mr. Ramirez. So with having Chromebooks on campus, another concern is, Dr. Tenenbaum, maybe you can answer this for us. Will students and families continue to receive meals during the summer?
Absolutely, Lori. I think one of the things we're most proud of is over 100,000 meals that we served during COVID-19 during the spring semester. Currently, we're just over 130,000 meals that we provided for our local school community and community. And right now, we're continuing to provide meals for our students and families throughout the summer. We're going to continue that service when we pick back up in August. It may look a little different because we'll have an AM and a PM session for how students and their families can pick up food. But definitely that's a service we're going to continue to provide.
Great, thank you. I know students are excited about getting onto campus along with our staff and parents as well. So Mr. Ramirez, when will students and families will receive information about reopening plans and classes for the fall?
Well, they'll, as a whole community and as a larger group, they'll start receiving information really soon here. So for example, this June 30th, we'll be updating our Board of Trustees on our concepts, our instructional model concepts, and where we're at up to this point in terms of our planning for the reopening. That will be followed with continued with an announcement to our faculty and our classified folks, and then as well as communication to our students and our parents, letting them know what our general concepts are. Now, a lot of the finer details in regards to safety measures and other details will also come throughout the summer. So the community can expect between this week on, they're going to start receiving a series of communication that layers in more and more detail about what the fall could potentially look like.
Wonderful. Communication is very important, and getting there out for our community is going to be a must. Dr. Tenenbaum, will the district be sharing more information with students, families, and the San Benito High School community?
Absolutely, Lori. And I think to build off what Principal Ramirez talked about, we want to continue that cycle of communication that's transparent. We're going to be taking bite-sized chunks of information. We're going to start with our instructional models, followed up by our safety protocol, and then all of our support mechanisms for students. And then at the end of July, we'll be sharing, as Principal Ramirez mentioned, reopening guidelines to all families and our students. And then we're really encouraged by the work of Mr. Breen, our communications officer. We're asking all families to ensure that they're receiving the newsletters that are being sent out. Mr. Breen is currently putting out a newsletter on Monday and Friday. The superintendent's message is going out on Wednesday. And then we're also putting out information on social media. So as we get a little bit closer to the start of school, we're going to be ramping up our communication. Today is one of the efforts we really wanted to ensure with our families and our school community is putting out a video. And we'll be following up that video on safety protocols with yourself, Lori, and a few other staff members. And we look forward to doing things in a different format and engaging our community. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Tenenbaum. Thank you, Mr. Ramirez, for
Thank
being
you.
here, for dedicating your time and your energy and all your efforts in helping to reopen San Benito High School. Thank you.
Thank you.